So we're now recording, okay? And then I want to change the view on this. I like to use the full screen view and fit to width. Yeah, makes it a little bit easier to see, okay? All right, so let's just go ahead then and see if I can get this thing to cooperate. And yeah, okay, we can look at this one. So we want to know, we have the job order cost sheet, and we have these different jobs up here, and then they tell us that job number 135 was completed during May, and jobs 134 and 135 were shipped to customers, and we want to know the cost of goods sold, and I'm hoping this file isn't going to keep doing this. Okay, there it is. It's at May 31st that they want to know what the cost of goods sold is. So cost of goods sold is going to be for those items that I actually do what? That I've actually sold, right? And so if they tell me that job 134 and 135 were shipped to customers, then I guess I'm going to have to accumulate those two costs to get my cost of goods sold, right? So 134 had costs that were already sitting in there of $1,700 at the beginning. They didn't add any more production cost in May, so I guess that job was done at the end of May, and they just happened to ship it during May sometime, right? I mean, was already done at the beginning of May, and they just so happened to ship it during May, right? They may have shipped it May 2nd, whatever, okay? Don't come to class and start talking. Don't come to class and start talking. I've seen it all, guys. This, I know you're talking to the person next to you. I know what that is. Either that or you're a fish, okay? And I know you're not a fish, so just don't try it. Okay, so 134, okay, is the 1,700. And then we've got what? We've got this 135, job 135. And yes, they had some cost in progress in May, and then they finished this job up in May, didn't they? So the total cost that were shipped out to customers for that one is $1,500, isn't it? Okay. So our what? Our costs are going to be $3,200. And our inventory is what? This job 136 that hasn't been shipped yet, right? Because it hasn't been shipped? Still in progress, right? Cost of goods sold, $3,200. Inventory is the $900, right? Question? Okay, good. Let's take a look at I'm going to do okay, well, I'll do a few of these till we just feel like we want to kill ourselves rather than keep doing them, because there's just more of these. But let's do another one. So this one asks me, what is the balance in the work in process account at the end of September? So they're basically giving me, I mean, for us, this is like baby class, isn't it? They must give me the beginning balance, they must give me the adds, they must give me the subtracts, and this question is like the babyest one of all. They're asking me the ending balance, and this should be a piece of cake, right? So what is the beginning balance in work in progress? Do we have a beginning balance? We have to. Oh, I see. No, there is no beginning balance because they're just asking me what? One job that got started this period, right? So they're not asking me the whole work in progress. They're just asking me this one job which was started this period, right? So there was nothing. The beginning balance, okay, if it makes you feel better. Beginning balance was 0 for this job because we hadn't started it yet at the beginning of the period, right? And then when we started it, we did what? We added direct materials of 2,500. And then we took some direct labor of 4. Okay. And then we had the job was not finished but needed an additional what? 3,000. So what in the hell is going on with this problem? The job was not finished at the end of the month, but needed additional 3,000 direct materials and direct labor of 6,500. Oh, to finish the job, but that's what? That's what's confusing about that one. That's October, and we're talking about what month? September. So we have to ignore that October stuff, don't we?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, that was the trick there, because that's not relevant. The company applies overhead at 200% of labor. So it's going to be 200% times what? Times the 4,000. Good. So 200% of 4,000 is going to be 8,000. Okay. And since the job was not done, there are no subtracts for that. It's all still in work in progress. So the ending balance is what? 25 plus the 4 plus the 8? 14,500? Okay, so that was a little bit of a tricky question in that they started giving us information up for October, and that information for October was not relevant, right? Yeah. They asked me what month? September, and I got sucked into the problem with that problem that they started giving me information in September that needed to be ignored, right? Okay. Huh? I mean October, which needed to be ignored. Thank you. Okay? Okay, good. All right, let's take a look at, let's do this one. Work in progress account, blah, blah, blah. The cost of goods transferred to finished goods. Right? How we want to set this one up? How do we want to set this one up? Huh? Okay, what's the beginning balance? 4,500, good. Ads or direct material, 47,100, good. Direct labor. Okay, you going to give me a chance to write it? Okay, so direct labor is going to be what? 29,600. Stay on the range, cowboy. And what? The applied overhead, manufacturing overhead is what? 15,800? Okay, can I get a subtotal? Even? Okay, good. 97,000 even. Who's helping me? Huh? Who was helping me? Huh? How are you guys friends? I see you guys are friends all the time. We're going to join. Okay. Who was it? The A's or was it the Giants? Okay, go ahead, A's. Huh? What's your name again, sir? Gregory. So we're looking for the subtract, aren't we? Okay, so that's what we're looking for. So how about ending balance? We got ending balance of 89. Now, why is 89 a good number for you? 1989, the A's swept the Giants in the World Series. Come on, stay with the theme here. Okay, so we got what? We got 89,000. So what do you want me to do with that, Gregory? You want me to subtract it from what? The subtotal 97,000 minus 8,900 gives me a difference of what? Okay, good. That's the answer? Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, so we've seen enough of those. Let's take a look at an applied, over under applied. Okay, so a company has an overhead application rate of 125% of direct labor costs. How much overhead should be, and they really should be saying applied, and so that's a piece of cake. It's the 125% times the direct labor cost, right? Hello?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. Okay, let's take a look at this one. Mesa Corp allocates overhead to production on the basis of direct labor costs. Mesa's total estimated overhead is $450. Estimated direct labor cost is $180,000. Determine the amount of overhead to be allocated to finished goods if there is $20,000 of total direct labor cost. Who wants to set that one up? Who wants to set that one up? That's a fish. Who wants to set that one up? You want to set that one up?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're going to do 450,000 divided by 180,000.
My total estimated overhead, right? Good. Divided by my total estimated driver, which is direct labor costs. Good, right? So that's that 180,000. Right? So that's going to give me what, like 250 or something? So it's $2.50 or 2.5. I guess it's not really $2.50. It's 2.5 of whatever my direct labor costs are for 250%. Okay. So now what?
So now you apply the 20,000 to the 250%.
Very good. I take the 20,000, which is now my actual, don't I? So now we're kind of over here. And that's what gets applied. Good. And now what gets applied, which is this 50,000. Good. Right? Question? Okay, number 6, Dallas Company uses job order costing. The company executives estimate the direct labor would be 2 million, which is 200,000 hours at $10 an hour. That's their direct labor. Should they pay them more? Should they pay their labor more than $10 an hour?
Yes.
Good. That's probably the most important thing you could take away from business school. You know, you're not there to gouge the other guy, are you? You're there to make money, but not to the point where you're, hurting other people. $10 an hour would be ridiculous. Okay, but it's a nice even number for our problem, though, isn't it? All right, so then what? And the factory overhead would be $1,500,000 for and the factory overhead would be $1,500,000. At the end of the period, the records show that there has been $180,000 of direct labor and $1,200,000 of actual overhead costs. Using direct labor hours as the base. Did they give us the direct labor hours here?
Yeah.
How many direct labor hours? 200,000. I mean, the only thing that makes that tricky is that they put an important piece of information in the parentheses, didn't they? Okay. But if that's the case, then what's my overhead rate, predetermined overhead rate?
It's 1,500,000.
1,500,000. Predetermined manufacturing overhead rate. Divided by the driver, which is? Huh? The 200,000 hours, right? Same thing every time, right? So what's the rate? 750? Okay, good. Can you give me the amount that should be applied then from this question? Okay, go ahead. Well, don't say yes if you can't do it. You know what's coming if you say yes. Somebody over there? There she is. She's wearing a green shirt. Well, now you're stuck. You won't be able to get out of it. Now you have to tell me. 750 is the predetermined overhead rate. How do I apply it?
You would take that number.
Right here. Times the actual driver, right? So is there an actual number of labor hours given to us there?
Yeah. Which is 180,000.
Good, which is the 180,000 that they gave us. Beautiful. So, I mean, this question didn't ask that. I forget what that comes out to. I think I figured it out myself. Did you guys get a number for that? Anybody got a number for that? Anybody got a number for that? Get a number for that? Anybody got a number for that? Anybody got a number for that?
135,000.
On what planet? 1,350,000. Okay. Okay, good. All right. Use your calculators, guys. I'm telling you, you're going to mess something up on the exam because you don't use your calculator, and then you're going to come to me and say, well, so I made a mistake with my calculator because you didn't practice with your calculator. I mean, you're walking in here ready to rock and roll on Wednesday. All your little calculator moves are down, knowing all your concepts and stuff, right? I mean, what did I say, tomorrow? Wednesday. Tuesday. I barely know where I am. Today is Tuesday. I'm at San Francisco State. Okay, I got it. Okay. 1,350,000? Okay. Okay, good. What are we on? Number 7 now? Okay. If 1 unit of product Z2 used $2.50 of direct material, $3 of direct labor, sold for $8, and was assigned overhead cost of 30% of direct labor costs, what is the gross profit? Remember I told you I'm going to hold you accountable to gross profit, right? That's the one thing from Accounting 100 that, I shouldn't say the one thing because you got to know debits and credits, but anyway, I want you to know that it's more of a financial accounting concept, but we're going to use it when we start getting into some of the later chapters. So that's why I'm bringing it up now. What's gross profit? How do I calculate it? And if you feel me looking at you, is because that's my Accounting 100 students. You know I can retroactively change your grade, right? Gross profit. Yeah, sales. Very good. Good, Gregory. Did you cry on Sunday? Sales minus what? Cost of goods sold, right? Okay, good. Do we know the sales? Gives us gross profit. Do we know the sales? Okay, do we know the cost? Do we know the cost of this thing? Okay, what's the cost of it? Good. Direct materials, $250 plus direct labor of $3 plus what? Plus 30% of direct labor costs, which even I can do that in my head. What's that? 90 cents? Right? So we've got what? $8.59? I mean, 5. I don't care what it is. What is it? I'm getting tired of asking for the sum of numbers and not getting it. What is the total of this? Huh? $6.20? 40? Okay, so minus 640 gives us what? 160? Okay. Okay, good.
I have a question. Where did you get 0.9 from?
0.9 is the $3 of direct labor times the overhead application rate of 30% for the overhead. Okay? Okay? Okay, good. Number 8. Okay, Clemens Company applies overhead based on direct labor costs. Estimated overhead and direct labor costs for the year were $112,000 and $125,000 respectively. Can I get the rate here? Who wants to set up the rate? What's this? Okay, good. Estimated overhead cost of $112,500 divided by what? The estimated overhead cost, and then the direct labor cost is 125, right? So that gives me a rate of 90%. Right? Okay, so 90% times then what? Huh? Times the actual direct labor cost, right?
Yes.
Times 120 gives me an applied of what? This 108? So the applied is 108. So if I'm doing my manufacturing overhead, and am I going to put the applied on the credit side or the debit side? Huh? The applied is on the credit side, isn't it? 108? What goes on the debit side? The actual goes on the debit side, and the actual they told me was what? 107,400. Okay, so 107,400. What's more, the applied or the actual? The 107, not 170. 107,400. So what's more, the applied or the actual? The applied is more, so I'm what? I'm over applied. So as a result, what's going to happen? I'm going to want to sit here and debit the actual, right? And when I debit the actual to close that out, then I will have to do what? Credit cost of goods sold. Right? This is the way to analyze it. I heard everybody saying subtract because you're looking at the answer. That is not the way to look at that. The way they, if all you had to do was read the answer to understand this, then I would just read you the answer. So don't just read the answer and say, okay, that's all there is to this. I mean, you need to think about what's going on here. We would have done what? The actual would have been the debit. The applied would have been the credit, and then you can look at it and say, okay, if my actual is what? Is less, then I am what? Then I'm over applied. I applied too much. Or if the applied is more, is maybe a more eloquent way of putting it, then I'm over applied, right? Okay. By the way, you might want to tell this gentleman, I'm not going to let him take the test on, if he's a friend of yours, yeah. Oh, you don't know him? Okay. Because I don't play that game either. Sneaking in, sign the attendance sheet, and then sneak out. So when I see him, huh? No, there was somebody else sitting right there. Where'd he go? That was not you. No, it wasn't. Yeah, but I cannot let you take the test too if you don't want. If you want to keep going. Okay. 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 So if anyone who knows that dude might want to let him know. I'm not playing games in this class. You don't sneak in, start this, that, then sneak out when you don't like what I'm saying. That's not how this class goes. Okay? All right. Let's go over and let's take a look at number 9. And we have the Marina Corporation applied overhead job during the period. The application rate has resulted in 5,600 credit balance in the factory overhead account, and the amount is not material. The entry to dispose of this should be what? So if they're telling me that I have my manufacturing overhead account, okay, and they're telling me that it has been what? A credit balance that's left over. And you could even say that we have what on this side? What's on this side? So am I over or under applied? If I ended up with more on this side. What? I'm over applied. This was a credit balance, meaning maybe there was 0 here and there was 5,600 here. They could have been what? More realistically, 50,000 over here, and over here there was 55,600. There's 5,600 too much, right? Credit balance. So I'm over applied. If I'm over applied, what do you want to do? You want to debit this 5,600. That closes that out to 0, doesn't it? And you want to do what? Credit the cost of goods sold, because they're telling us it's immaterial, right? To take that cost out of cost of goods sold. Okay. Question? Okay. You're sure now? I mean, you don't have to ask me any questions, but I mean, this is it. We're down to this now. After this is over with, I'm done talking. And it's on you. I mean, it's going to be between you and the test. There's no more me in between it, right? Question?
So if you have work in progress or overhead that's over or under applied, you're going to fix it by balancing out.
Wait. I don't have work in progress that's over under applied.
It's just,
I have manufacturing overhead that's under or over applied. I take what's applied and I take it to work in progress. If there's a balance left between the actual and the applied, that's my over or under applied inside of the manufacturing overhead, right? So over or under applied is only inside of manufacturing overhead, right?
yeah.
Okay, and if it's over applied, then I'm gonna have to take some cost out, right? And if it's immaterial, and I think on your test, I just have to take it like we're seeing with these problems, we'll take it all from cost of goods sold. If it's under applied, then what? If it's under applied, then this number is smaller. I'll credit this, and I'll have to debit it to cost of goods sold, right?
But either way, it's just being balanced out with cost of goods sold. It's not being balanced out with any other.
Well, we talked about the option of allocating it between work in progress, finished goods, and cost of goods sold,
Yeah. I think
based
that's
on the
one.
relative balances that are in each one of those, but I don't think we're going to do that for the test.
Okay.
But there is the option. Remember, we had there, I forget what it was. There was 30,000 that was, I think it was under applied. And then we looked at how much of the total of each of the account balances, how much of the total, how much we added up the account balance, we got the total. And then depending on how much of each one was in that account, that was how much we allocated of the, I think in that case it was under applied, 30,000. I think it was like 10% went to work in progress, another amount went to finished goods, another amount went to cost of goods sold.
I don't remember that one, but it like, well, regardless if we're just doing cost of goods sold, but that's the question.
Sorry, there's no such thing as asking me a question. and then I enter the answer to you, or I submit the answer to you, and then you say you don't remember it, and then think that somehow in all that I'm not going to answer your question, because that's not the way I do things. So let's just go back and let's take a look. And I think it was chapter, I want to say 3, although I think I'm in the wrong class. Not process, costing. Yeah, we're going to re-sign the attendance sheet, guys. Okay, so re-sign the attendance sheet under October 3rd. Just re-sign it under October 3rd for me, please. I'm not playing this game. Just sign it under October 3rd. I'm not playing. I said at the beginning of the class, the thing that you're not going to like about me is I'm going to hold you accountable to things like if you sign the attendance sheet, you stay for the class. If you're in class, you sign the attendance sheet. If you're not in class, you don't sign the attendance sheet. I said that the first day, and I said that the thing that you're going to hate me for is I'm going to hold you accountable to that. So now you're seeing what I was talking about. I am not playing those games. I'm not here for that. Okay, so we talked about the situation where if you had $30,000 and you thought it was immaterial, it would all go to cost of goods sold. If we sat there and we had an over-apply, we would have to do what? We would have to debit the manufacturing overhead, and we would credit cost of goods sold to take it all out, right? Okay. The other option was to sit there and allocate it between the three based on the relative balance that each one had. So we would take the balance, ending balance of work in progress, ending balance of finished goods, ending balance of cost of goods sold, add that up, and then what? Work in progress constitutes 10% of that, doesn't it?
Oh, using the predetermined manufacturing.
No. 3 numbers, work in progress, finished goods, cost of goods sold, total 680,000, don't they? Okay, and so we take the total of those 3, the total, that's the ending balance that's in each one of those, and then 10% of the, in this case, underapplied would go to work in progress.
Because it tells you to do 10% in the problem, right? Or is that just because?
Okay, let me go back to the previous slide.
But why 10% is my question.
Because 68,000 is 10% of 680,000.
Oh, okay.
So I add the total of the 3 account balances, their ending balances, and then I determine what percent each one of those makes of the total, right? And so then, since it was a total of 30,000, 3,000 would go to work in progress. Since the finished goods constituted 30%, 30% of 30,000 or 9,000 would go to finished goods. And the remaining 60%, since 408,000 divided by 680,000 is 60%, 18,000 would go to,
That makes sense.
what do you call it? Cost of goods sold. Or you could take it all to cost of goods sold. Okay? But in these problems that we've been looking at, so we're good now? So in these problems that we've been looking at, go back to full screen. And these problems that we've been looking at, we've been taking it all to cost of goods sold, and I think that'll be the case. I'm not going to ever make you allocate it between the 3, so we've been taking it all to cost of goods sold. So we debit the factory overhead here because this problem told me that what? That there was an over-applied amount, right? And I said, say 55,600 when the actual was 50. So to close it out, we have to debit the manufacturing overhead. Now this balances, doesn't it? It's 0. And since we debited it, since we over-applied, we're going to credit it out of the cost of goods sold. That's why B is the answer. Okay?
What do we do if it's under-credited?
If it's under-applied, then it would be basically the opposite here. We would be saying that we had applied, say, 50,000 when the actual was 50,000, what was it, 55,600?
Yes.
So now it's what? Now it is sitting there and it is under-applied, isn't it? We haven't applied enough? So to close this, we would do what? Credit the manufacturing overhead account 5,600 and debit cost of goods sold so that those extra costs get over there, right? Right? Okay, which in that case would have made what? I guess would have made A the right answer. Okay, good. Yeah, let's do one journal entry. Remember, you got to know the journal entries as we move these things through the different accounts. So they purchased 165,000 of raw materials, and the beginning raw materials had a balance of 22,000, and the materials used to complete the job was 141,000 for direct and 13,000 for indirect. How should we journalize the purchase of raw materials? Debit the raw material, credit the account payable, right? Debit the raw material, credit the account payable. Okay, I'm done, guys. Any other questions?
Is there anything else on the second practice midterm that like we have already covered?
I don't know.
On 11, when it comes to, the purchased amount, the thing I kind of jumped ahead on was to make sure to subtract those direct materials and indirect materials, because that was what they started with, the 165,000, right?
No. They started with 22,000. If I was looking at the raw materials, the beginning balance in raw materials is 22,000, right?
Yes.
And then they purchased 165,000. And when they purchased 165,000, they debited raw material and they credited accounts payable, right? The answer to this question? Okay. And then, just for entertainment purposes, they had work in progress here, and they credited raw materials for 141,000. I don't know if it's for entertainment purposes. I suppose we're learning, right? 141,000 to work in progress. And then for the indirect materials, they credited this for 13,000, and they debited what?
The overhead.
Good. They debited manufacturing overhead for 13, right? Okay, but the question didn't ask all that. The
last
question
was asking what I was talking about, and I thought it was kind of the same thing, but it was a little.
now, if they had asked you the ending balance in raw materials, then you would have gone forward with the rest of that.
Got it.
Yeah. We can do number 12. I mean, again, you asked me, is there anything that we haven't covered? That would require me to have, this complete remembrance of every single question that's in this test, which I do not, versus what I've already talked about. Is kind of that's why I say I don't know. But I'm sensing that the class is about done hearing me talk for the day. So I'll do this one more, and then we can see if there's a question from there. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's take a look at our estimated, yeah, let me see, what do they want me to know here? Compute the amount of overhead applied. Okay, so who wants to set this up? Set it up.
So the estimated total overhead is numerator 396.
Good. The estimated total overhead, 396,000, numerator, good. Denominator,
Is oh yeah, I put the direct visit, the direct labor. 220,000.
they estimated overhead of 396. They estimated direct labor, right?
Oh, it's 410. That's right.
Of 220.
Oh, is it 220? Yeah. Okay. So then I got.
Materials were 410. Direct labor is what? 220, right?
Yeah. So then I got 1.8.
Okay, so that's 1.8, good. And then how do you want to apply it?
Times that by the actual.
By the actual overhead, which, I mean, direct labor, which is what? 224 is the actual direct labor?
Yes.
So that gives me what, 403?
200.
The answer to this question?
Correct.
Okay, good. Am I under or over applied, which I think is number 13? Am I under or over applied? The applied is what? Do them like this, guys. I'm telling you. Put it in a T account. Applied is what? I mean, this is manufacturing overhead. And the applied is on the credit side, right?
Yeah.
Which is the 403?
Yeah.
Okay, good. How about the actual overhead costs?
Oh, wait, no.
413 of actual overhead costs? So 413 of actual. So if I have 413 of actual, what's that give me? 10,200 what? Under or over? 10,200 under? Which actually is the answer to the next question, isn't it? Same facts? Same facts. Rolls over to the next question.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I would credit 10,200. Yeah, why am I saying 10,200? I know it's 10,200. That it is what? Under applied, not 10,200. Sorry, 10,000, right? Sorry, 10,000. Right? Okay, and so it is what? I would credit it here and then I would debit the cost of goods sold, right? Okay, good. Question? Okay. Anything else? The attendance sheet went around a second time, so make sure you sign it. Okay. See, the magic texts are working. The texts are working. Okay, guys. That's it. I don't have anything else to teach you. I'm not in a good mood at this point. So, go ahead and take a look at the rest of those that I did not go through. Look at the, yes. You need the Scantron? Skinny green one? Okay, skinny green Scantron. Make sure that you are looking at all of those quizzes and make sure that you're looking at the practice midterms. All the quizzes in the practice midterms are going to be your best bet. Please return the attendance sheet to me.
Hey, Mr. Ward, I'm really sorry. My roommate texted me and saying you needed a key. So I just.
Said what?
He said you needed a key to our apartment, so I ran home, gave it, and came back. As soon as
Okay, did you sign back in?
Yeah, I did.
Okay,
Thank you,
all right,
sir.
okay.
Won't
all
happen
right.
again. I'm really
Okay,
sorry.
I
wasn't
appreciate
ditching or
it.
anything. I just want to let you know.
Okay, all right, I appreciate it.
How did you last year? I think it's last year.
No, I know, I remember. I just want to make sure that we're keeping everybody
Yeah.
focused.
See you
So,
next week.
okay, all right.
Thanks
see
so
you.
much.
Okay, thanks.